What if history's greatest structures were never meant to be admired, but to warn? Across mountains, oceans, jungles, and deserts, ancient civilizations built monuments so massive, so precise, and so terrifying in purpose that even empires feared them. A wall longer than most people realize, a fortress that no army could conquer, cities hidden above the clouds, and temples designed to mirror the universe itself. These are not ruins left behind by failure. They are structures abandoned by choice or forgotten because they were too powerful to remember. Tonight, we uncover the places history tried to erase and ask one disturbing question. Were these monuments built to protect humanity or to control it?
Choqquequirao. Hidden deep within the remote Andes Mountains of southern Peru lies Choqquequirao, an ancient Inca city suspended between sky and stone. Perched at nearly 3,050 meters above sea level, this vast complex overlooks the roaring Apurimac River far below, surrounded by sheer cliffs and dense cloud forests. Unlike Machu Picchu, Choqquequirao was never revealed to the world through dramatic rediscovery. There was no single moment of revelation, only slow, fragmented encounters with explorers who struggled to reach it. Even today, accessing Choqquequirao requires a multi-day trek through unforgiving terrain, a journey that mirrors the isolation deliberately chosen by its builders. The name Choqquequirao is believed to derive from the Quechua words chuqui, gold, and quirao, cradle, often translated as cradle of gold. Whether this refers to the wealth of the site, its spiritual value, or a symbolic association with the sun remains uncertain. What is clear is that Choqquequirao was no minor outpost. Covering more than 6 square kilometers, it is significantly larger than Machu Picchu. Yet only a small fraction of the site has been excavated, leaving much of its true scale hidden beneath vegetation and earth. From the very beginning, Choqquequirao was meant to be concealed, not forgotten. Choqquequirao was built during the height of the Inca Empire, likely in the 15th century under the reign of Emperor Pachacuti or his successors. Like all major Inca constructions, it was designed with astonishing precision, using massive stone blocks fitted together without mortar. The city is divided into distinct sectors: ceremonial plazas, residential terraces, administrative zones, and ritual platforms. These areas were connected by steep stairways and pathways that followed the natural contours of the mountain, blending architecture seamlessly with landscape. One of Choqquequirao's most remarkable features is its ceremonial terraces decorated with white stone inlays forming the shapes of llamas, animals central to Inca economy, religion, and survival. These figures were not meant to be seen from close range, but from across the valley, suggesting ritual performances designed for the gods rather than humans. Astronomy played a central role in the city's layout. Structures aligned with solstices, mountain peaks, and celestial events, reinforcing the Inca belief that the cosmos, the earth, and the emperor were bound together in a single sacred order. Choqquequirao was likely both a royal estate and a religious sanctuary, a place where elite Inca society could withdraw from the political heart of Cusco and engage directly with divine forces. But its greatest role was yet to come.
When Spanish conquistadors arrived in the 16th century, the Inca world collapsed with shocking speed. Cusco fell, temples were destroyed, gold was seized. But resistance did not end. Choqquequirao is believed to have become a strategic stronghold during the final years of Inca defiance. Along with other remote sites, it formed part of a hidden network of mountain cities used by rebel leaders such as Manco Inca and his successors. From these nearly inaccessible fortresses, the last Inca rulers waged a prolonged guerrilla war against Spanish forces. Choqquequirao's isolation made it an ideal refuge, difficult to reach, easy to defend, and invisible to outsiders unfamiliar with the terrain. Unlike many Inca cities, Choqquequirao shows no clear signs of violent destruction. This suggests it may have been abandoned voluntarily rather than conquered. As disease, internal divisions, and relentless pursuit weakened resistance, the inhabitants likely withdrew deeper into the jungle toward the final Inca capital of Vilcabamba. When the last Inca ruler was executed in 1572, Choqquequirao lost its purpose. Without an empire to serve, the city was swallowed by silence. The forest closed in, stone paths vanished, memory faded. Spanish chroniclers never recorded the conquest of Choqquequirao. As a result, the site remained largely unknown to the outside world for centuries. Occasional references appeared in local lore, but no systematic exploration occurred until the 18th and 19th centuries. Even then, Choqquequirao resisted full revelation. Its remoteness discouraged large-scale excavation. Only in recent decades have archaeologists begun to uncover its structures, estimating that more than 70% of the city remains buried. This raises unsettling questions. What rituals took place here that were never meant to be witnessed? What knowledge was stored or hidden within its walls? And why did the Inca invest so much labor into a city they seemed prepared to abandon? Today, Choqquequirao stands at a crossroads between preservation and exposure. Plans for easier access promise tourism and recognition, but also threaten the fragile balance that protected the site for centuries. In its silence, Choqquequirao offers something rare, a glimpse of the Inca world not frozen for display, but paused, mid-thought, mid-prayer, mid-escape. As mist drifts through its terraces and condors circle overhead, Choqquequirao remains what it has always been, a city built for the gods, hidden from conquerors, and still guarding secrets that history has yet to unlock.
Crac des Chevaliers. High above the fertile plains of western Syria, overlooking vital trade routes that once connected the Mediterranean coast to the interior of the Middle East, stands Crac des Chevaliers, one of the most formidable castles ever built. Its massive stone walls do not simply occupy the landscape, they dominate it. From a distance, the fortress appears almost unreal, as if carved directly from the mountain itself. Yet Crac des Chevaliers was not born of legend. It was forged in one of history's most violent and transformative eras, the Crusades. The site was originally fortified by local Kurdish forces in the 10th century, but its destiny changed dramatically in 1099 when Crusader armies swept through the Levant. By 1142, the castle was handed to the Knights Hospitallers, a powerful Christian military order whose mission blended monastic life with relentless warfare. Under their control, Crac des Chevaliers was transformed into a masterpiece of military engineering. The Hospitallers were not merely building a castle, they were constructing an instrument of permanent domination, designed to project power across hostile territory. Every stone was placed with purpose. Every tower was positioned to see and kill before being seen. Crac was meant to be unconquerable. Crac des Chevaliers represents the peak of medieval castle design. It is a textbook example of concentric fortification, multiple layers of walls, each higher and stronger than the last, creating a deadly labyrinth for any attacking force. The outer walls were thick enough to absorb siege weapons. Narrow arrow slits allowed defenders to fire while remaining protected. Murder holes poured boiling oil or stones onto enemies below. Even the gates were traps, twisting passages designed to slow attackers and expose them to crossfire. Inside, the castle functioned as a self-contained city. Vast storage rooms held grain, olive oil, and wine. Deep cisterns collected rainwater, ensuring survival during long sieges. Barracks housed hundreds of knights and soldiers, while chapels and halls reinforced discipline and religious identity. Krak could withstand years of isolation. It was not merely defensive, it was offensive. From this stronghold, the Knights Hospitallers launched raids, controlled movement, and taxed surrounding territories. To local populations, the castle was not just a fortress, it was a constant reminder of foreign rule. Arab chroniclers described it with a mix of awe and dread. Muslim armies attacked it repeatedly and failed. For decades, Krak des Chevaliers stood undefeated, its reputation growing with every failed siege. But no fortress exists outside the flow of history.
By the 13th century, the balance of power in the region began to shift. A new force rose in the Islamic world, the Mamluk Sultanate, led by one of the most brilliant military strategists of the medieval era, Sultan Baybars. In 1271, Baybars turned his attention to Krak des Chevaliers. Unlike previous attackers, he understood that brute force alone would not be enough. He began with a systematic siege, capturing surrounding fortifications and cutting off supply lines. Mamluk forces breached the outer walls using siege engines and relentless pressure. The Hospitallers retreated into the inner fortress, confident it could still hold. Then Baybars employed deception. According to historical accounts, a forged letter, supposedly from the Grand Master of the Hospitallers, was delivered to the defenders, ordering them to surrender. Exhausted, isolated, and believing the order to be genuine, the garrison laid down their arms. Krak des Chevaliers fell, not through destruction, but through strategy. Baybars respected the castle's strength. Instead of dismantling it, he repaired and reused it, integrating the fortress into the Islamic defensive network. The greatest Crusader stronghold became a Muslim fortress, its walls continuing to serve power, just under a new banner. The era of Crusader dominance in the Levant was coming to an end. Centuries passed. Empires rose and collapsed around Krak des Chevaliers. The Ottomans used it. Villagers lived within its walls. Earthquakes damaged towers. Cannons made medieval fortresses obsolete. By the modern era, Krak stood largely abandoned, its halls silent, its walls weathered but unbroken. European travelers of the 19th century rediscovered it, calling it the greatest castle in the world. Archaeologists later confirmed what warriors once knew instinctively. This was the most complete and sophisticated Crusader castle ever built. In 2006, Krak des Chevaliers was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Yet war returned to Syria in the 21st century, and the fortress once again found itself caught in conflict. It suffered damage, but survived. That survival is no accident. Krak des Chevaliers endures because it was built not just to fight armies, but to resist time itself. Its stones remember fear, faith, ambition, and blood. It is a monument to human ingenuity and to humanity's endless cycle of conquest and defense. Standing within its walls today, one feels the weight of history pressing in from every direction. This was never just a castle. It was a statement that power could be made permanent, that stone could enforce belief, that walls could shape the fate of entire regions. Yet history proved otherwise. Empires fall, faiths shift. Only the fortress remains, watching, waiting, silent.
Prambanan temples. Rising dramatically from the plains of central Java, the Prambanan temples stand as one of Southeast Asia's most extraordinary architectural achievements. Built in the 9th century CE, this vast temple complex was not merely a place of worship, it was a declaration of power, faith, and cosmic order carved in stone. Prambanan was constructed during the reign of the Sanjaya dynasty, a Hindu kingdom competing for dominance in Java against the Buddhist Sailendra dynasty. While the Sailendras left behind Borobudur, a monument of Buddhist devotion, the Sanjayas responded with something equally ambitious, a monumental Hindu temple complex dedicated to the Trimurti, the three supreme deities of Hindu cosmology. At the heart of Prambanan rises the towering central shrine of Shiva, the destroyer and regenerator, reaching over 47 meters into the sky. Flanking it are temples dedicated to Vishnu, the preserver, and Brahma, the creator. This sacred trinity was not arranged randomly. Every structure, pathway, and courtyard followed strict cosmological principles derived from ancient Indian architectural texts known as the Vastu Shastra. The builders envisioned Prambanan as a terrestrial reflection of Mount Meru, the mythical axis of the universe. The temple complex symbolized a cosmic mountain where gods descended and humans could approach the divine. To enter Prambanan was to step into a carefully ordered universe, one where chaos was kept at bay by ritual, hierarchy, and stone. Yet even at its birth, Prambanan existed in a fragile balance of power, faith, and politics, one that would soon be tested by forces beyond human control. The walls of Prambanan are not silent. They speak through thousands of intricately carved relief panels that wrap around the temples like stone manuscripts. These carvings tell epic stories drawn from Hindu tradition, most notably the Ramayana. As visitors walk clockwise around the Shiva and Brahma temples, they follow the journey of Prince Rama, his exile, the abduction of his wife Sita, and the climactic battle against the demon king Ravana. Every scene is frozen in motion, warriors mid-strike, forest spirits watching from the shadows, gods intervening in human fate. These reliefs served more than a decorative purpose. In a largely illiterate society, they were visual scripture, a way to transmit religious values, royal ideology, and moral order to the population. The story of Rama reinforced ideals of kingship, loyalty, sacrifice, and cosmic justice, aligning earthly rulers with divine authority. Beyond the Ramayana, the temples also housed statues of deities, guardians, and celestial beings. The massive statue of Shiva Mahadeva once stood at the center of the main shrine, embodying both destruction and renewal. Nearby, stone lions and mythical creatures guarded entrances, warning that the sacred space within was protected by divine forces. But Prambanan was not just a religious center, it was also a political statement. By constructing such a grand Hindu complex, the Sanjaya rulers asserted their legitimacy and independence in a region shaped by competing beliefs and dynasties. Still, the gods of Prambanan would not remain undisturbed forever. Despite its grandeur, Prambanan's golden age was surprisingly brief. Within less than 2 centuries of its construction, the temple complex was largely abandoned. No invading army left scorch marks on its stones. No historical record describes its fall in detail. Instead, Prambanan slipped quietly into ruin. Several factors likely contributed to its decline. Political power in Java shifted eastward, drawing royal courts and resources away from central Java. At the same time, volcanic activity, particularly eruptions from Mount Merapi, covered the region in ash and debris, making sustained habitation increasingly difficult. As Hinduism gradually lost its dominance in Java, replaced by Buddhism and later Islam, Prambanan's religious importance faded. Without priests, pilgrims, or royal patrons, the temples were left to the jungle. Earthquakes caused towers to collapse, roots cracked stone foundations, statues were buried or looted. Over centuries, Prambanan became a shattered silhouette, known to locals, but largely forgotten by the outside world. European explorers encountered the ruins in the 18th and 19th centuries, describing towering heaps of stone swallowed by vegetation. Restoration began slowly, hindered by the sheer scale of destruction and limited understanding of the site's original form. By the time modern archaeologists arrived, Prambanan was no longer a living temple city, but a puzzle scattered across the landscape. The 20th century marked Prambanan's return from obscurity.
Extensive restoration efforts, led by Indonesian and international teams, aimed to reassemble the fallen stones using original materials wherever possible. The central Shiva temple was officially reconstructed and reopened in 1953, symbolizing not just architectural recovery, but cultural rebirth. Today, Prambanan is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site and stands as the largest Hindu temple complex in Indonesia. Yet its restored beauty raises deeper questions. How many stories were lost with the fallen stones? How much of Prambanan remains buried beneath the earth? Even now, earthquakes continue to threaten the site, reminding us that Prambanan exists in constant negotiation with nature. The temples are both resilient and vulnerable, monuments to human ambition in a volatile landscape. Prambanan's legacy extends beyond religion. It represents a forgotten chapter of Southeast Asian history, one where Java stood at the crossroads of Indian, indigenous, and later Islamic worlds. It is evidence that ancient Indonesia was not isolated, but deeply connected to global networks of trade, belief, and power. As the sun sets behind its spires, Prambanan still casts long shadows across the plain. Not just shadows of stone, but of a civilization that once sought to shape the universe itself, only to be reclaimed by time. And in that silence between the temples, the question remains: was Prambanan abandoned by its people or by its gods? The Gorgon Wall, the Red Snake. Stretching for nearly 200 kilometers across the plains of northern Iran, the Gorgon Wall stands as one of the greatest engineering achievements of the ancient world, yet few outside academic circles have ever heard of it. Older than many medieval fortresses and rivaling the scale of China's Great Wall, this colossal structure guarded the northeastern frontier of the Persian Empire against relentless threats from the steppes. Known locally as Kızıl Alan, or the Red Snake, the wall earns its name from the reddish bricks baked from local clay, which still glow faintly against the landscape. From the air, its remains snake across fields, rivers, and hills with an unsettling precision, as if the earth itself had been stitched shut. For centuries, the Gorgon Wall was misunderstood. Early explorers believed it to be a medieval structure or even a natural formation. Only in the late 20th and early 21st centuries did archaeological research reveal its true age and purpose. The wall was not built by accident, nor by desperation. It was the product of imperial confidence, constructed by one of the most powerful states of late antiquity, the Sasanian Empire. While Rome fortified its borders in the west, Persia was doing the same in the east, on a scale history nearly erased. The Gorgon Wall was constructed during the 5th or early 6th century CE at the height of Sasanian power. This was an empire that stretched from Mesopotamia to Central Asia, constantly defending itself against nomadic confederations such as the Hephthalites, Huns, and later Turkic tribes. These were not small raids. Mounted warriors from the Eurasian steppe could devastate cities and supply lines with terrifying speed. To counter this threat, the Sasanians chose not mobility, but control. The wall was positioned with extraordinary strategic intelligence. It ran from the southeastern shore of the Caspian Sea to the foothills of the Alborz Mountains, sealing off the narrow corridor through which invasions most commonly flowed. Geography became a weapon. But the wall was not merely a barrier. Along its length stood over 30 major forts spaced at regular intervals. Each fort housed troops, supplies, and command structures, forming a permanent military zone rather than a passive defense. A sophisticated canal system ran parallel to the wall, supplying water for soldiers, animals, and brick production. This infrastructure reveals something critical. The Gorgon Wall was not an emergency project. It was planned, engineered, and maintained over decades. This was border control on an imperial scale, long before the concept existed. Constructing the Gorgon Wall required an almost unimaginable level of organization. Archaeological evidence suggests that millions of bricks were produced on-site using standardized molds. Brick kilns lined the wall's path, turning raw earth into hardened defense. At its peak, the wall stood up to 10 meters high and over 3 meters thick, far more massive than many sections of the Roman limes. Watchtowers and gates allowed controlled movement, while forts functioned as autonomous military hubs. What makes the Gorgon Wall especially remarkable is its logistical ecosystem. Roads, canals, and supply depots supported thousands of soldiers permanently stationed along the frontier. This was not a temporary army, it was a standing force embedded into the landscape. Some historians estimate that over 30,000 troops may have manned the wall during periods of heightened threat. If true, this would place the Gorgon Wall among the largest continuous military installations of the ancient world. And yet, unlike China's Great Wall, it was never meant to impress travelers or intimidate enemies visually. Much of it blended into the terrain, low and functional. Its power lay in coordination, not spectacle. This was Persian warfare at its most disciplined, silent, calculated, and relentless. The Gorgon Wall did not fall in a great battle, it faded. As the Sasanian Empire weakened in the 7th century under pressure from internal strife, prolonged wars with Byzantium, and the sudden rise of Islamic armies, resources shifted elsewhere. The northeastern frontier lost priority. When the empire collapsed in 651 CE, the wall lost its guardians. Without maintenance, sections eroded. Bricks were reused by local populations. Rivers altered their courses. The Red Snake slowly sank back into the soil. Unlike Rome's walls or China's fortifications, the Gorgon Wall was never preserved by later regimes. It was not mythologized, it was forgotten. Only modern archaeology brought it back into view. Satellite imagery, ground surveys, and excavations revealed the true scale, forcing historians to reconsider Persian military sophistication and border policy. Today, the Gorgon Wall remains largely unprotected. Agriculture, development, and erosion continue to erase it piece by piece. There are no grand reconstructions, only traces, shadows, and fragments. And perhaps that is fitting. The Gorgon Wall was never built for glory, it was built for survival. In its silent remains lies a powerful lesson. History does not always remember the greatest achievements, only the loudest. Beneath the fields of northern Iran rests a wall that once held back the world and asked for nothing in return. Qutb Minar. Rising above the plains of Delhi, the Qutb Minar dominates the skyline not merely as a monument of stone, but as a symbol of a dramatic turning point in Indian history. Standing over 73 meters tall, it is the tallest brick minaret in the world and one of the most controversial monuments ever built on the Indian subcontinent. Construction of the Qutb Minar began in 1192 CE, shortly after the Muslim conquest of northern India by Qutb al-Din Aibak, the founder of the Delhi Sultanate. This was not an era of gradual transition, but of sudden political rupture. Ancient Hindu and Jain kingdoms were giving way to a new Islamic ruling elite, and architecture became one of the most powerful tools to assert dominance. The Qutb Minar was conceived as a victory tower, an unmistakable proclamation that a new authority now ruled the land. Its soaring height ensured it could be seen from miles away, reminding both subjects and rivals of the Sultanate's reach and ambition. Yet the tower was also intended to serve a religious function. Positioned beside the Quwwat-ul-Islam Mosque, the first mosque built in Delhi, the minaret likely functioned as a call tower for prayer, anchoring Islamic ritual in a newly conquered landscape. From its very foundation, Qutb Minar was a structure loaded with meaning, political, religious, and symbolic, crafted not just to touch the sky, but to reshape history itself.
A closer look at the Qutb Minar complex reveals a deeper, more complex story, one written directly into its stones. The mosque beside the tower was constructed using materials taken from demolished Hindu and Jain temples. Columns carved with lotus motifs, celestial dancers, and sacred symbols were repurposed into Islamic architecture. Rather than erase these carvings, the builders left many of them visible. As a result, the complex became a striking fusion of artistic traditions. Islamic arches rising from pillars shaped by centuries of Indian religious craftsmanship. The minaret itself reflects this blend. Its fluted surface alternates between angular and rounded designs, while bands of Arabic inscriptions wrap around the tower, praising God and recording the names of rulers involved in its construction. Qutb al-Din Aibak began the tower, but did not live to see it completed. His successor, Iltutmish, added 3 more stories, expanding the minaret's height and reinforcing its symbolic role as the heart of the Sultanate. Later rulers repaired and modified it after lightning strikes and earthquakes damaged the structure. The Qutb Minar was never a static monument. It evolved across generations, shaped by disasters, ambition, and the shifting needs of empire. Each layer of stone reflects a different ruler's attempt to leave a permanent mark on history. But among the surrounding structures, one object stands apart, older than the Sultanate itself and deeply mysterious.
Within the Qutb complex stands an artifact that seems almost out of place. A 7-meter-tall iron pillar dating back to the 4th century CE, long before the arrival of Islamic rule in India. Dedicated to a Hindu king, likely Chandragupta II of the Gupta Empire, the pillar is famous for one astonishing feature. It has never rusted. For over 1,600 years, exposed to rain, heat, and pollution, the iron pillar remains remarkably corrosion resistant. Modern scientists have studied its composition extensively, discovering that its high phosphorus content and unique forging techniques created a natural protective layer. But long before science offered explanations, the pillar inspired awe and superstition. Locals believed it possessed magical properties. For centuries, visitors attempted to stand with their backs to it and wrap their arms around the column, hoping for good luck. The presence of this ancient Hindu artifact within an Islamic victory complex raises difficult questions. Was it deliberately preserved as a symbol of conquest over the past? Or was it respected as a marvel of ancient craftsmanship too impressive to destroy? Whatever the reason, the iron pillar stands as a silent witness to India's layered history, empires rising and falling around it, religions changing, languages shifting, while the metal itself endures. Beside the towering minaret, it serves as a reminder that no empire truly begins on empty ground. Over the centuries, the Qutb Minar has survived earthquakes, lightning strikes, invasions, and political upheaval. In 1368, a powerful lightning strike destroyed its top floors. They were rebuilt, altered, and reinforced, each restoration subtly changing the tower's appearance. During British colonial rule, the monument was studied, catalogued, and partially restored, often through a European lens that struggled to reconcile its violent origins with its architectural brilliance. Today, the Qutb Minar is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of India's most visited historical landmarks. Tourists admire its symmetry, its height, and its intricate inscriptions. Yet beneath the admiration lies an unresolved tension. For some, the Qutb Minar represents artistic achievement and cultural synthesis. For others, it is a reminder of conquest, destruction, and the replacement of one civilization by another. Both interpretations are valid because history itself is rarely simple. The Qutb Minar was never just a tower. It was a statement carved into the sky, announcing the arrival of a new order. But time has transformed its meaning. What was once a symbol of dominance has become a monument to endurance, of stone, of memory, and of a land shaped by countless rulers. As the sun sets over Delhi and shadows stretch across the ruins, the Qutb Minar still stands, watching centuries pass in silence, holding within its stones the echoes of victory, faith, and the price of empire.
Murud Janjira. Off the rugged Konkan coast of western India, rising directly from the waters of the Arabian Sea, stands Murud Janjira, one of the most extraordinary and impregnable sea forts ever constructed. Unlike hilltop citadels or desert strongholds, this fortress was born from the ocean itself, anchored to a rocky island just offshore. Murud Janjira's origins stretch back to the late 15th century. What began as a modest wooden structure built by local fishermen soon evolved into a massive stone fortress under the control of the Siddis, an elite group of African-origin naval commanders who served various Indian sultanates.
The Siddis were renowned sailors and warriors, and Janjira became the heart of their maritime power. From this isolated island fortress, they controlled sea lanes, protected trade routes, and challenged some of the most powerful empires in Indian history. The name Janjira is believed to derive from the Arabic word jazira, meaning island, and true to its name, the fortress existed as a world apart, cut off from the mainland, surrounded by shifting tides, and protected by nature itself. From the moment of its construction, Murud Janjira was designed not just to resist attack, but to defy it entirely. Murud Janjira is a masterpiece of naval military engineering. Its massive stone walls rise directly from the sea, making traditional siege tactics nearly impossible. There is no visible main entrance from the shore. The primary gate faces the open sea and remains concealed until one approaches at the correct angle. The fort is protected by 22 massive bastions, each armed with cannons positioned to cover every possible approach. Some of these cannons, such as the famous Kalal Bangdi, were among the largest and most powerful of their time, capable of devastating enemy ships before they came within striking distance. Inside the fortress lies a fully self-sufficient world. Freshwater wells, still functional today, provided an endless supply of drinking water despite the surrounding salt sea. Granaries, mosques, palaces, and administrative buildings allowed the fort to withstand prolonged blockades without reliance on the mainland. Perhaps most remarkable was Janjira's invisibility from a distance. Its low profile and stone coloration blended with the sea and sky, making it difficult to spot until it was dangerously close. Murud Janjira was not built to intimidate through height, but through absolute control of space, water, and firepower.
For over 300 years, Murud Janjira stood as a symbol of defiance. It was attacked repeatedly, but never conquered. The most famous attempts came from the Maratha Empire, particularly under the legendary ruler Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj and later his son Sambhaji. Recognizing Janjira as a major obstacle to Maratha naval dominance, Shivaji launched multiple campaigns against it. Despite his brilliance as a military strategist, Shivaji failed to breach the fort. Its sea-based defenses neutralized land assaults, while its cannons crushed naval advances. Even innovative tactics, including the construction of nearby forts to counter Janjira, could not bring it down. The Mughals also attempted to subdue Murud Janjira, viewing the Siddis as dangerous autonomous powers along the coast. They too failed. The Siddis skillfully navigated shifting alliances, sometimes supporting the Mughals, sometimes resisting them, always preserving their independence. Janjira became the only major fort in India that never fell to Maratha, Mughal, or European colonial forces. Its reputation grew into legend.
Murad Janjira was no longer just a fortress, it was proof that absolute defense was possible. The decline of Murad Janjira did not come through conquest, but through change. As European naval powers introduced modern artillery and colonial dominance reshaped the Indian Ocean, traditional sea forts gradually lost strategic relevance. By the 19th century, Janjira's military role had diminished. British colonial authorities absorbed the surrounding territories, and the Siddi's influence waned. The fortress, once alive with soldiers, commanders, and cannons, fell silent. Yet Murad Janjira never truly died. Its walls remain remarkably intact. Cannons still face the horizon. Freshwater wells still hold water. The fort stands as a rare monument to African Indian history, maritime warfare, and resistance outside the dominant narratives of conquest. Today, Murad Janjira is both a historical site and a mystery. Visitors who approach by boat often describe an unsettling feeling, as if the fortress is still watching the sea, waiting for enemies that never come. Unlike many forts remembered for their fall, Murad Janjira is remembered for something far rarer. It was never defeated. In its silence, the fort tells a powerful story, not of empires that rose and fell, but of one stronghold that refused to surrender to history itself.